When we got Tottenham away. Tottenham away. When we got Tottenham away.
What's happening, man? We're live.
Hello.
Yo, we're live.
Hello.
I don't know what's happening to Will. Will's going to come back into it. What's happening, guys? What's happening, everyone in the chat? What's happening, you guys in the panel, man? How's your week been?
Man, my week has been good. It's scorching hot here in Florida. Trying to stay hydrated.
Nobody likes a show off, Marley. All right. It's cold. We're in England. We're a bit cold today.
Yeah, but no, try to stay hydrated. I'm gonna probably turn on the fan. So if you guys see the flag flying, it's not a ghost. It's just the fan is got things going.
How are you, Lee, Maz? How are you guys?
Good.
I'm all
apart from
good.
being hungry.
Hungry? Yeah. What you got on the way? What food you got on the way?
I'm supposed to be having a McDonald's coming. Treat myself tonight. Ordered at 7 o'clock, and it still ain't even been sent out, and it's only about a mile down the road. Just being lazy.
Maz, how are you, man? Been off for a couple
good.
of weeks. Back on tonight. How are you?
Back on tonight. Yeah, really good. Just been busy, enjoying the off season. There's keeping up to date with all of the, the transfer gossip and everything, watching your videos in the morning, keeping me entertained and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's all good.
Mate, we are signings galore at the moment, eh? We honestly, we're moving quick. It's just got. I said this the other day, guys, that there's a different vibe around even Hotspur Way. When I went back, it was just nice to I hadn't been back in a long while since the whole. I don't want to go back too much about last season, but I stopped going because I just didn't want to be around the place. A bit similar to the matches, really. But I have to be. There was a different, and I know it's early days, and no one's getting, getting carried away with anything because nothing's been done. I have to state that. But just being around the place, I have to say I've got a different vibe to it. Just the fact that we're getting the dealings in, and we're getting Postecoglou is bringing it. There's a different feel about it. That's all I can go on, guys. I can't say anything else. But just other than the different, time will tell if that feeling was the right one or how it. We will find out. But it is. We're getting the business done earlier on, so it's always good. But before we go into all of that, let's go into the chat, man. Big up everyone in the chat. Who we got in the house today? We got just about. I can't bring the chat up. I'm not having. Big up, Tony. Big up.
Tony's in the house. We got George. Where's
George?
Stelios?
Stelios is taking a break. He's having a little bit of annual leave. I think everyone's entitled to a bit of a break. We probably will at some point as well. But he's taking a break, and so yeah, don't worry yourself too much, my man.
Yep. We got the lovely Sophie, who's in the house. He's on annual leave. We got Adam. Big up. He's also in the house. Do you guys not think the signs were making Kane's money coming in? Possibly. We'll talk about that. We'll about that.
Kane as well. Don't worry.
Big up, lads. Sander, big up. Oh, we got LA 007, Mr. Ian in the house. Evening, guys. Hope we have been keeping well. Yes, we are keeping well. Yep. All right. Yeah, we are going to talk about that. Oh man, we got a lot to talk about. Rob, Aris, Enoch out, Levy out. Big up to you. William is also in the house. William Leon. Treat that button like it's so Campbell space. Yes, I agree.
So this is smash that like, guys.
Well, Pochettino's face as Twitter is blowing up.
Yeah, we got to talk about that as well. Mixed reviews on Pochettino's press conference.
Got a lot to talk about.
Is also in the house. Big up, Poch and then to the sentimentals. Oh yeah, the hate is real. So and it should be that way. But I just figured it's a month too late, and people are really taking it bad. I mean, the guy needs to get get a job, but we'll get to that. Scott Ebb is in the house. He's also in the house. Big up, big up. Ron, my name is Jeff, is in the house. Big up, Ron. We got Richo63 in the house. We got Ant Curicus in the house. We got Scott, a different Scott Hyman in the house. Big up, big support of the channel. We got JJ in the house. Oi, 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 evening. We got Sticky in the house. Decent window so far. Yeah, man. We're going to talk about that. So far, so good. We got Language Angels. Good evening, all, in the house. Big up. We got a Grumpy Grandpa. Big up. I always love that name. In the house. We got Just Fly in the house. We got Chris in the house.
Bordeaux Spurs.
Spurs, man. I'm supposed to be going to
Ottawa
in France for get some good wine. Hopefully later in the year.
Yeah, Bordeaux is awesome wine.
Yeah, my girlfriend. I told her I want to take her to Bordeaux. Big up, big up. We got Seb, who's also in the house. We got Daniel, that's in the house. DJ Marcus Anthony is in the house. Happy big Soul up. Campbell Day. Yes. We got Soul in the house. And then we got Mr. Phil P, the age of Ange.
Big up, Phil.
Woo! It's Phil P Arby in the house. We got Dexter Morningstar, who's also in the house. Good morning to all. Had a long day in bed. Okay. All right. JJ, mentioned earlier. Sammy's in the house. We got Chris, who's also in the house. Mike Zappa, that's also in the house. We got Paul in the house. We don't have the box office, but we got Mr. Post Office. He's been everywhere. Big up. Gio. We got Steven in the house. We got Lee. That's also in the house. 72. That's right. And we got Graham in the house. We got a user. Yeah, we get everybody. Calvin, man, we got a full house, even on
full
Facebook Live. Yeah, Dowzo, because we got so much to talk about. Clicking this thing is so difficult. We got Dowzo in the house. We got Jimmy Two Tones, right? 8675309. If you guys know your music, I got her number on the wall. Wolves F1. We got Paul. Crashed. Okay, someone crashed. Simon D. That's in the house. Leon. We got Benjamin Foster. We got Phil Coyce, Benjamin Foster, and I think we got everybody.
I think we got everyone. We covered everyone. Lee, I just saw one of the guys in the chat said that his granddaughter is not about, so you're welcome to swear. Don't do it just yet, but if you're free to swear later on, let's try and make it to 9 p.m. at least before we go into, and at least then we're safe that everybody after 9 p.m. all the kids hopefully should be in bed by then. But guys, big up to absolutely every single one of you that tune in. Listen, big up as well to JP, who's not in tonight because it's his birthday. So a massive big up to JP, and I hope he has an awesome birthday. Mrs. is taking him out tonight. So JP, I don't know. Listen, why would you be on watching here right now? Hopefully you're not, because if you are, that means
what do you mean? Of course you should be on.
If he's tuned in at the restaurant that his missus is taking out of, and he's locked in, that means the missus is boring him. So hopefully it's not the case. And but JP, have a wicked birthday. Top guy. I don't know about you guys, man, but I've been watching his uploads recently on that he's been putting up in the evening, and you know what? JP's got that. He's got that wicked voice, man. It's just so calming and so completely the opposite of what I am in the morning. So it's just nice in the evening when I listen to any upload that he puts up. And as Mari and the other guys do as well, man, I just enjoy listening to their take of what's happening with Spurs. But you know what, Mari? Let's get straight into it, man. Thoughts on Postecoglou's first interview? Go ahead, man. You guys have your say, and then I'll say my piece after.
I was
By the
trying to
way,
pull up.
people are asking where Stel is taking a break. He will be back. Just chill, man. Like, every so often, where Stel was, he's just taking a break, man. It's that time of year where there's no football. It's best time to do it.
Yep. And on the first topic we want to talk about is thoughts on Postecoglou's, yes, I said it correctly, first interview, which that is not him, that's Poch. We're going to get to that.
Yeah,
but
we're going to stop mistaking him for him. This is our guy. This is our guy, not the other guy. This is our guy.
And kudos to and so thoughts on his interview. We'll start with Lee.
I think it's any interview that, if you've done your research on him, you've seen before, right? He seems like a confident guy. I think he understands what he's looking to bring and what the fans want. Whether that actually happens is yet to be seen. I think it's still too early with him. I mean, listen, the guy's been in the job 2 days. He needs to get or have a good few days with these players to see what's going on. But I think he's got, he's got a philosophy behind him. He sounds like he knows what he wants, and we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. I mean, they're all off to Australia in what, 2.5 weeks now, I think we are.
Yeah.
So obviously there's going to be a lot of interviews coming out of that as well. Be interesting to see what he says based on some of the results. I mean, I think we got West Ham in one of them as well.
Yeah.
Which will be an interesting match to play in Australia. So it'd be good to see how he handles himself. I think, to be fair, most of it is take it with a pinch of salt while we're in pre-season. It's when we start playing the games and the results start churning out as to what it really is going to be like, isn't it? Really, but no complaints so far, but we'll see.
Maz, fire away, man. Let's remove that comment.
I agree with Lee. I think if you've done your research on Postecoglou and you've seen his previous interviews, he hasn't really said anything over and above different to what he said in every other club. However, what I do like about him is that he's kept it quite clean in the beginning. He hasn't said too much, which I think is a good thing. He looks like he's just getting on with the job, which I like. As we said before, he doesn't really come with any baggage, so so far so good. I just think we need to sort of temper our expectations. He's got a huge job ahead. I think he knows he's got a huge job ahead, which is why he's managed to persuade the hierarchy at Spurs to do maybe business early in the window, which is very unusual for us, which I think is where all of our current enthusiasm is coming from. Not so much precisely the players per se, although I think they've been decent signings so far, but just the fact that we're doing things slightly earlier so we can have a good taste of what's to come as the window goes on. And the real Turing test will be at the start, as Lee said, at the start of the season when the results start coming in and we have longer interviews with Ange to see what it's all about, really. But I don't see anything negative so far from him.
Listen, man, I'm with you guys in the sense of, like, nothing has been done. A lot of work needs to be done. Like I said, I can only go on sensation and vibe, and it's just been a nice positive vibe. Are we getting carried away? I hope we don't. I hope we're not, as fans, getting carried away with it all. I think we definitely keep it in check, because we didn't end the season very, very well, and we need to really start start with something fresh. That's what we want. We want to see something fresh. We want to get excited about something because last season there was little to get excited about. Are we getting carried away? No, I don't believe we are. But we have to start this new season in July. In precinct, we need to start with something. With positive. We got us with a different approach to how we ended it, and my thoughts on Postecoglou's friend. Listen, it's what do you expect a new manager? He's happy to be here. He's excited. He wants a
Exactly.
new
Yeah.
challenge. It's the usual stuff. You hear every new manager that comes into a club always wants to make a good impression, and he did that. He's done that. He's done
Yeah,
that.
and he
Now,
hasn't said too much, has he, Iggy? He
no,
hasn't
no,
like
no.
gone over the top. He
No, he
hasn't
hasn't
said
gone over the
anything.
top. No,
Yeah,
he hasn't
I mean,
said anything
our
over the order.
buddy, yeah,
But
our buddy
essentially,
Scott M though in the comments said I noticed that he said earlier in the comments that he's not a fan of Postecoglou. I think my response to that would be is that I think we've been so battered, haven't we, with Spurs over such a long period of time. It's very easy for us to become pessimistic. But what I would say is let's not. We need to back him because we're in this mess, and he's coming in with the good intention of trying to get us out of this mess.
and that's all he can.
And we
It's all
should
he
back
can
him,
go
right?
on. That's all we can go on. At the end of the day, like anything, the proof's in the pudding. When the football starts, and I'm not saying that we have to be on his case after 5, 6 games, but we have to allow that time to really be patient. That's the most important thing. Being patient, allowing him to implement what he wants to do, the players to settle, especially the new ones, to settle in, bed in what needs to happen. Because let's not forget, we are changing not only the system that we're playing in, but the way we approach games and play games will be different to what we have seen. So there is that happening. Also, whilst we're trying getting players in, getting players out. So there's all of that. And I'm willing to, and I said this year for me, it's going to be one off transition. That's how I'm approaching it. It's going to be one of transition, the things that happen. And all I want to see is steps to a
But
better Tottenham Hotspur.
I think we've got to be careful though, because I think Sophie said, when are we going to turn on him? And I think we've got to be really careful. I mean, we've been the one, one of the loudest critics of the hierarchy and how
Yeah.
we're run. But if we all come steaming in when results aren't going his
No, it's
way
not
and
going to
when
work.
some of the players don't work out, well, what do we want? Because we want a rebuild, and we know the rebuild's going to be painful. So we've got to accept that it's going to get probably worse before it can get better, right?
Like anything, when you're trying to build something, it requires patience, hard work, and you have to be a little bit more like long-sighted rather than what's happening there and then. So it just becomes a bit of patience. But listen, time will tell how things turn out. But for now, I wanna start on that positive. I want to go off that positive sensation that I picked up from the beginning. But Will, man, take it away, my man. What are your thoughts?
Well, now that I've got my audio, for some reason, the internet over in that area wasn't that great, and then I came over here and I couldn't hear anything. But I think I got it sorted out now. That's what happens when you're not at home in your $10,000 studio, right?
No one likes a show off, Will. No one likes a show off.
Yeah, it's just the fact of the matter. When you have OCD like me, these types of issues really get on your nerves. So, no, but like just overall, I mean, are we talking about the manager first, or what are we talking about right now? So,
Yeah, no, possibly your thoughts on
just thoughts in general.
Postecoglou's, yeah, his first interview and what you've made of him. What are your thoughts whenever you've seen the guy speak now? He's only just spoken briefly, and obviously, what are your sensations essentially?
Well, I'm skeptical at heart, right? So, just in general, I'm a fairly skeptical person. So, for me, you can say all of the right things. I just need to see it, right? And unfortunately, as good of a job that he's done in Japan and as good of a job as he's done in Scotland, those aren't the Premier League, right? So, time will tell, right? And for me, am I willing to give him the opportunity? Yeah, I am. So I don't blame managers. I don't think managers play a big as role as people give them credit for. I mean, they're important, but at the end of the day, it's the players on the pitch who win or lose the game. So for me, that's always been my focus is on players and then the people who buy the players. So with Postecoglou, for me, it's just a matter of wait and see.
Yeah.
See, the interesting thing for me with him that I was reading earlier today is how he handled the goalkeeper situation. So it's actually reported that he had a video call. Vicario, I think it's
Vicario.
pronounced, isn't it?
Yeah, Vicario.
And he actually had a video call with him, which, I think is quite personal. And he discussed with him not just about the football side, but the reasons as to why they chose him as the goalkeeper, not the other way around. And it seemed very personal. And I think that's what he's like. He's very personal in these player interactions, and that for me is a good start. And I'm hoping that all of these signings are exactly the same. They're all in the same way. None of this is the club. It's all him. And if that's the case, then we're on a good road. We're on a good trajectory. But it was interesting that he said to the goalkeeper that apparently I've chosen you as my number one target because you're like me. You've come from here and you're coming up the ranks. And I'm doing the same thing. I've come from here. I've gone to here. I've gone to here. I've gone to Celtic. Now this is the biggest challenge of my life. And you're in the same vein. That's why we've chosen you, rather than it being a case of, say £5 here, £5 there. It might be that behind the scenes. We don't know, but that's the story behind it all. And that's just so much. You've not seen that in any of the managers over the last 5 years.
And that's what makes
that's
him
a
an outlier,
big difference.
Right? That's what makes him
exactly.
Superb points, Lee. Absolutely spot on, mate. I mean, that's what makes him like I guess different to the other managers, and his story through the various clubs he's been through is that he knows what he wants. He engages with the players. He brings them on side and on board. In a weird way, Mourinho sort of done that a little bit, but only with the players he actually wanted. The players that he didn't want,
but he told Dele Alli that he didn't want him to be, didn't want to be a father figure for him. It's just like, well, he's a young lad. So, what else are you going to be?
And I guess that's the difference between someone who's won it all in terms of in Europe and someone who's won it everywhere else.
Someone who's on
Europe.
The same journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end of the day, he sees himself in some of the same vein as some of these players, right? I mean, these young players that he's bringing in, it's almost like they're doing the same thing. Him in his managerial and them and their players, they're stepping up through the the ranks as you say. So they're all on the same journey, so they're living it together. Whereas everyone else is just like, oh, well, this is Mourinho. He's done everything he needs, or this is Conte. He's done everything he needs. He's just trying to sort out a broken team.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a slightly different from a psychological perspective. And Mari, maybe you can chime in on this, but it's a slightly different way of achieving that sort of siege mentality, whereby it's them against us. And he's saying, I'm on this journey. We're all on this journey to go somewhere better, and we're bringing you in to help us do that. And rather than someone like Mourinho, who's like, well, all the media is all against us. They're all, everyone's calling us out. We need to go out there and prove them wrong. And that's just two slightly different ways of doing things.
But on the other hand, though, how do you think he's going to handle the players that aren't on that same journey? Kane, Son, Romero.
No, that's a good, excellent point that you bring up, because I put back Phil P's point, and it seems like the last few days, between body language and comments, apparently he said to James Maddison that everybody's going crazy about, and to Vicario. So I'm putting my counselor's hat on. I put Phil P's point because I've come to the point where talk is cheap. Not to say that I'm not positive about, because yes, Ange is a bit different from Mourinho and Conte. They said similar stuff too, hey, I'm gonna come in here, clean out those who don't want to be here, and those who want to be here, they're gonna love this club. But then again, strong personality, Jose Mourinho. Strong personality, Conte. Maybe rub some of the players the wrong way. Maybe some players of the players committee, and maybe Ange. From what I'm hearing from Celtic fans and foreign fans, that he's tough, but he's very personable. Very, though I still think Conte and the other guys were kind of that way, but this is now an important month to kind of tell who are the bad apples and who's going to eventually go, because Ange personality is not as egotistical or as Conte and Mourinho. But I want to add that they did say the same thing, that they're going to come in there and scorch earth, right? Conte said, "I'm going to kill players," right? And so now you're hearing what he said to Vicario. You heard what he said to Madison in regards to, if you don't want to be with us, either you sign or you don't sign with us. We're going to change things here. So I'm going to look on a positive note that he is more player friendly, and that he means business, and so I'm going to believe him. But I'm also going to be critical and watch it in process, see how it goes from training camp on. So
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, isn't it, Maru? I think there's no point us just being negative for the sake of being negative because we're anti, let's call it establishment in terms of the hierarchy at Spurs. We've got to give the guy a chance, and we've got to allow him to make the changes that we've been calling for.
Like anything, like we said earlier, the proof's in the pudding. We have to give him the time to do his job, but ultimately it's a results business, and that's what he eventually, like any manager, by the way, manager and players, they will be judged on. I'm just reading what a few points that Tim, who's a Celtic fan, has been saying in the chat. And you know what, we've got quite a few Celtic fans now that follow our channel, and big up to you guys, and because they give us a bit of insight of how he did things at Celtic. And yeah, listen, like all managers, it should be his way. If he's not his way, it's it's the highway. So he seems to have that character. At least the first impressions I got, he seems to have that. It will be my way or you're out the door. So whilst it's easy to get the new players that are coming in on board because they've been selected and chosen by both club and manager to be part of the new era, it's also just as important to find out where the players that were here previously, where they're at. Players like Lloris, if he's already declared that he wants to move on, at least that's what is given off. Then we need to find him, find that solution. Winks is gone, and all the other, Slaughter Sanchez. It looks like he's heading out too. So it's important, and that part of the process happens too. Players who are no longer committed or want to be part of the new or of the next Tottenham or Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham, it's right that they move on and find because we need hungry players, man. We need hungry players, ones that want to join or want to still be part of Tottenham to relaunch in a positive way and move away from how we ended it last season. We need that massively.
And David Clark brings up a good point. Yes, we want him to say those things. I'm just saying that the overreaction on Twitter was like, oh my goodness, what he said to Madison is great. Like, I get it. Nuno said, I'm going to make you proud. Right. So for me, how I receive it, yeah, it's good. But
that's
also,
PR. That's PR stuff, isn't it?
It's more than balance. Hey, I got to see it to believe it, because, yeah, I admit I am suffering from post-traumatic, manager syndrome, because we've been through so many managers. It's like we've been there, done that. So it's kind of like
it's rational. It's rational to be skeptical at this point.
Yeah,
because
but I'm hopeful. I'm actually really excited, but also I'm trying to temper. I guess the word is temper my excitement, because this is something new. It's a new, like, shiny toy. When you get a new shiny toy, you're excited. But yet I'm still kind of like tempered because of all those things those past managers have said, and nothing came into fruition. So
I think,
Yeah,
I think,
it's definitely, we definitely have to be cautious, and we definitely have to temper our expectations. I'm intrigued by what Will said, actually, in reference to Son and Kane, and what the conversations Ange has had between those two, because they're a different type of player that he's ever had to deal with in terms of their elite players. And maybe that's what's going to separate him to Jose and a Conte, because those elite managers like Jose and Conte can say, I've won everything, trust me, I'm gonna turn this team around, make you win, and they'll believe him. Whereas maybe when they look at Postecoglou, they might think, well, yeah, I like him as a guy, I like him, from a coaching standpoint, but is he really going to change anything at Spurs? And I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that conversation.
And I think we're seeing that, right? Because the fact that you have these Kane Bayern links that are super strong, kind of, it gives a abductive argument to that point, right? If Kane was impressed with him now, why wouldn't he just give it a year and wait to stick it out? Why would he try to push for a move right now, right?
I think that's an amazing point, Will, to be honest. Yeah, you're right. And it could just be, though, that it's happened to Kane so many times now that even if he was super impressed with Ange, it's too late now. He's made his decision. He's gonna go through with it.
I was going to bring this up later, but since we're talking about the players, I'll get this out the way. Over the weekend, a lot of people were talking, and me being the counselor, I read body language. Everybody on either Twitter or on some podcasts, some other YouTubers, they brought up body language. A lot with Hugo Lloris, a lot with Tanguy. Uh, I think it's overreacting. It's the first day, people are coming in. Tanguy did, you know, give a thumbs up, walking in whatsoever. Are people looking too much into it? It's the first day, players coming in. They're not, skipping along, like, I mean, is it overreacting? Have you guys heard about the body language talk?
I haven't seen any of it on Twitter. I tend to not follow a lot of people on Twitter, just the people that I like, kind of respect their opinions. So I haven't seen or heard anything about it, but I mean, body language can tell you a lot, right? Whether they're excited to be here or not, or this, that, and the other thing, or they're just having a bad day, right? They woke up late. I mean, who knows, right? There's a lot
first day at work for that day. The first day at work, they're like, oh, not this again. Look, man, at the end of the day, the only ones that you're going to pick those vibes up from are players that have either been here too long, or they probably hoped that something would have happened in the transfer market in regards to perhaps leaving. But look, at the end of the day, this stuff, there's plenty of time for all of that, because was it July now? We've got 31st of August. It's a long time away, and they will have time. Players like Lloris, like I mentioned earlier, or I don't know, Ndombele, that remains to be seen what happens with those type of players under the new regime, because we got Alfie Whiteman that was that I saw back as well. Looking at the goalkeeper situation, Alfie Whiteman was back, Foster was back, Vicario. So we got too many goalkeepers there. So something has to happen in that front, and I think a lot of it will happen. In regards to Kane, look, with Kane is a different situation altogether, because it comes down to him. I don't think the manager will not want him in the team. Of course, who wouldn't want Kane in the team? But look, it has to be right for everybody. If he's mine, you have to chat to him and say, look, they have to have a chat. Him, Levy, and Postecoglou, if they haven't already.
They said it's going to happen in a couple of days.
Yeah, it has to happen. And only then, once you look at people, people in the eyes, forget all that paper talk. When you're looking at somebody face to face and you understand, you get that sensation of what wants to happen. Kane won't force the move. He won't force the move. He might show that there's interest in moving into a team like Bayern Munich, but he won't force the move, because if it doesn't go ahead, like basically round 2 after what happened with Nuno and Wolves, when he came back late and he didn't start playing till later on. That won't happen. He won't make that same mistake again and put himself in that situation. I don't know. I'm thinking he doesn't. It depends on who's surrounded by. Like, he wasn't best advised by his brother Charlie last time when that all that happened. I just don't.
But his brother and his dad are the ones doing the deal with Bayern, right? So
what I'm saying is that he can't put himself, because he did it the first time around and he put himself in a weird situation with the fans. And I just don't think that can happen again. If in his mind he wants to move on, then strike a deal with Bayern, get the money that you want. Do it now, though, so we give ourselves enough time to get that money and to try and invest it. Give ourselves enough time to invest it in what can only be the best replacement possible. That is all I can say. If I don't want to be in a situation where this goes on for the whole summer, and then in the last week, Bayern go, okay, here's the money, give us your plan, and you don't give yourself enough time to get a replacement, because at that point, you'll have clubs saying, well, they've got money, they need a striker now. Now we can ask Tottenham whatever I want, money-wise, to get, the player that they require. I don't want to be in that situation. Have that conversation. We keep him. We outwardly say to everybody out there, Kane is not leaving this summer. Then we say, look, we're going to run his contract down and he can leave to go wherever he wants at the end of next season. Either that happens or we deal with Bayern Munich. If they stump up the money that we want, then you say, all right, let's get this deal done. See you later. I don't listen from a Spurs point of view. I don't want it to happen. Of course I don't. But it's not my money though. At the same time, I'm not losing anything money wise. So I understand as a business.
I don't want it to happen if he's going to sign another contract, right? If that's a possibility. If he's going to go the Christian Eriksen route, I don't want to see him go next January.
No.
For 20 million pounds.
The worst case scenario. It's the worst.
Right? I know it's not what you want to hear, right? Like another one of those speeches from Daniel Levy, right? Because if you can get it now, and if you can get, even 80 million pounds right now, even though we don't have him this season, and even though we don't have him forever again, we'll be in a better off position than keeping him for this season, maybe getting back into European places, and then him walking out on a free in the summer. Yeah. Right? Like you can't put yourself in that position. How long did it take us to replace Eriksen?
We replaced him.
We haven't yet.
Maddison, so.
Which is Maddison, right? Like you could say that's an equivalent.
Whether we've replaced him or not, we'll find out in time. Player-wise, attacking midfield-wise, and creative player-wise, yeah.
But Icky, this is the issue I have with talk that watching media reports and listening to this person, this and that person. Listen, as people have said before, two people can talk and discuss whether they want to go somewhere or whether you want to come and join my club and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you've got two reports that have been flashed up on screen saying, the clubs are in direct contact. As far as I know, the report coming out of the club is the Tottenham said he's not for sale. Yeah. That's it. End of story. He's not for sale. So they can talk as much as they like. Now, whether that's true or not is another story. And my personal opinion is that if this was 2 weeks ago and Bayern had maybe come in with a bid of around 100 million, I think Levy might have considered it. The fact that Declan Rice has now gone for 105 million, Levy's probably sat there thinking, well, Declan Rice doesn't get you 30 goals a season. Yeah, but he's done his last year of his
contract, Lee.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's the point. This is the point, though. Levy can put whatever price tag he wants on him and say, if you want him now, 120 million, you can have him. Otherwise, he's not for sale. End of story.
But then he leaves next June for free, and we're
Well,
out.
yeah, that's
nothing.
Maybe that's a risk he wants to take. Who knows what goes on in his head?
That may be the risk that he wants to take, but is that a risk that we should be taking as a club? Right? You can't have a talent like that let go on a free, because you can't replace him, especially with Daniel Levy in charge. He's not going to spend 150 to 170 million pound to go buy a player of Kane's level.
You're right. That. And to be fair, Will, I haven't got the answer to that question. If I was in that situation and you know that you could get an inflated price for him now because whatever else is happening, but you're potentially going to lose out 30 goals a season, which could, maybe not, most people will say it isn't, but could be the difference between, finishing 8th and 9th or finishing 5th or 4th, then Levy, knowing that revenue could be coming in from Champions League, would be more valuable to him than selling him now. You just don't know how his mindset is, right? So
yeah, but that's
who
assuming.
knows?
But that's assuming that Kane wants to stay for that last season and wants to perform. I mean,
I don't think that's the question. I don't think that's an issue. I think Kane will be happy to stay. If he doesn't go and we don't sell him, he'll be happy to stay and he'll put in 100%.
I don't think
there's any question.
He down tools under Nuno. You can't say that's a guarantee because he down tools.
No, it's not a guarantee.
Scored 2 goals.
So that everything that everyone else says isn't a guarantee. But that's what I'm saying. It all depends on, I think Levy's probably. If listen, Will, I'm going to say this now. My opinion: if Kane has categorically said to Daniel Levy, there's absolutely nothing you can do now, manager-wise, player-wise, etc., that will make me sign a new contract either now or around January time, then I would cut my losses, take the money and run.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I would do. If there was a small chance he says, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to do anything now, but let's see how the season starts, etc., and maybe I'll rethink my position in January, then surely you have to take that risk and not sell him. Because if you end up, in a really, really good run up to January, potentially getting the Champions League, and he says, well, actually, this is going somewhere, maybe we could do something and I'll sign another 2-year contract or something, you've got to take that chance. But, it's not our risk to take.
Yeah, if you're Kane, though, by
Levy's
January,
risk to take.
But if you're Kane by January, how can you you can't win anything by January, right? So there's nothing other than us maybe being top of the table all the way into January that would cause a player like Kane to say, hey, you know what, maybe I should give this a couple more years. Maybe there is something here, right?
You don't know. I mean, you're right. There's no right answer to this question.
I think by going with
too many factors.
By going with option B and say, look, there's a little bit of risk, it's worth taking. You have to factor in the fact that risk will ultimately end up with potentially losing him for free. You have to take it into fact and say, look, man, I'm taking that risk knowing that I could lose him for nothing, and that could be a game that Kane is willing to play as well. So it's a tough one. Me personally, I spoke about this in this morning's video, and I said, look, if I don't see a player, only Postecoglou will know what he wants to do with him. Like, if he doesn't see a player that's committed or in his mind wants to go, then you have to allow him to go, because the guy's been a real good servant to the club and he's done the best that he could. It's not his fault that we are in the situation that is. It's not his fault that we've let it go to the last year of his contract and we find ourselves in this situation. That's something that the club should, in future, with other players, not allow this situation to evolve. But we're not going to go in. We are where we are, and now we're in a situation where we need to make a decision. And for me, that decision is very simple. If he doesn't want to commit, talking pen to paper for whatever reason, then we have to part ways. And sooner we get that done.
It's got to happen now. You're absolutely right. It's got to happen now, because if we,
I was going to say, it has to happen before.
It's got to happen now.
The window closes.
Also, just to conclude, guys, and then you can say
that's what I'm.
Just to conclude, the way Postecoglou wants to play on the front line, as in attacking football, and he wants to lead from the front, so the pressing game from the front. Kane won't offer us that pressing from the front, so he has to look at that, and Postecoglou will have to adjust the way he plays, because Kane won't be pressing the defenders from the front. So he's got to look at that situation, but also a tactical aspect of things. Whilst Kane is a great player and he will give us 30 goals a season, guaranteed. I get that. But he has to look at the other side. Is he the player I want to move forward with, knowing that there's this situation going on in the background with Bayern and his head's probably been turned on it. So there's a lot of factors that I think will be answered once that meeting happens with Postecoglou, Levy, and Kane all in one room.
Yeah, no,
that's what I'm saying. Levy's got to put that to him, though, right? He's got to say, I need to know now if there's a chance, if there's a 5% chance, if there's a 10% chance that you could stay on. Like, Levy's got to be the one to ask these questions, because it is an absolute dereliction of duty as an owner to let a player of Kane's caliber leave the club for free.
Yeah,
especially when we depend. Yeah, well, I know that's my point. That's the part that's scary and frightening as a fan, right? Like a normal person would say, you know, hey, you get 80 million pound for him. Yeah, you can't replace him for 80 million pound, but that might get you halfway there. All right, halfway is better than nowhere, because we all know Daniel Levy's not going to be forking out 100 million pound plus for a striker, right? He's not going to be going out for Osimhen or any of the big dollar strikers.
The way how I see it, guys, how I see it is that I think we're already kind
stuck with Richarlison for the next
I think
5
we're
years.
kind of spending that money. I was going to say we're kind of spending that money that we might get for Kane already with the players that we're getting in. Then it'll be a case of either Richarlison plays up front, or perhaps Son will move in a striker position, and maybe one of the wide players coming in will take Son's place on left. That's how I'm seeing it, because don't forget, whilst we're trying to recoup some money for Kane, I hope we have a 60 plus million pounds Brazilian international ready to play. We got to start, in one way or another, figure out what we're going to do with him moving to next season. We can't have a season where we do what with Richarlison, what we did last season, where it was just kind of here or there and nowhere really, playing him on the right, on the left. It just can't have that. Something needs to be clearly done with Richarlison, because the investment was massive, and we either start playing him if Postecoglou truly believes in that player, or we need to ship him out and get somebody else in that would be more worthwhile to the cause.
Yeah. Scott, that brings up a good point. That is the worst scenario. And, this meeting with Ange in 2 days, because it says it's going to be this week, it's going to be probably the biggest meeting in this club's in regards to Harry Kane, because, twice Jose Conte has come in, talked to him, and he was happy. He was sold on the project. The only time he wasn't sold was Nuno. And believe it or not, I know Will said it, we kind of saw it, he downed tools. And then it seemed like he was back. Conte came in. And so this meeting with Ange is, if he's going to believe, but even then, I said it through a source in February. Barring a miracle, I said this in February, if Conte is gone, barring a miracle, and it could be bringing in Madsen, it could be bringing in Mbappe, it could be bringing in whoever, he is set on leaving because he does not believe this team is going to win trophies. And, it's really tough situation for Daniel Levy, but if he's the smart businessman, he's going to have to make the move, in regards to Harry Kane, because right now
he's not smart. Thing that this rumor that he's a good smart businessman is false. It's all conjecture, right? There's no evidence to back it up, right? Because smart, good businessmen make smart, good decisions, and I can't think of a single smart, good decision Daniel Levy's ever made.
Yeah. And so,
like a smart person, just a good CEO or a good leader isn't just smart at the P&L and balance sheet, right? They're smart about a CEO isn't even supposed to be good at the balance sheet. That's what CFOs are for. A CEO, a person with a vision, is supposed to be able to make the decisions necessary to lead the club in a positive and winning manner. And Daniel Levy hasn't shown that impetus at all. That's what CEOs do, right? He might be a good CFO, but he shouldn't be a chairman then. He should be the CFO.
Yeah. Especially he does not have any football experience on the field, scouting, just nothing other than handling the books. And so we go into, since we're talking about Levy, we go into this question. We go into this next topic. Hello, Vicario, Madison, and Solomon. Goodbye, Winks. I must remind people who are watching and on the chat. Last year we started hot. We made some signings. This year it seems that the signings are a little bit more better in quality. Madison being the headliner. You know, people are saying, okay, gotta be fair and give kudos to, Daniel Levy. I have given some credit, but with caution, because I'm like, well, after this last season, yeah, he has to do something. But I will put up, just to remind people who we got in. We got in Vicario. This is
Madison.
Vicario, Madison, Solomon seems like it's done unless FIFA stops it. And goodbye, Winks. So what's your guys'
hopefully we could buy Sanchez as well. That's
yeah, I see that. I want to say not Atletico. The team that just lost. Villarreal, yeah, because they just great move by Aston Villa getting Pau Torres. But yeah, what do you guys think of the early transfer window and how much credit Daniel Levy should get?
None.
Give him some credit. None. Okay, we'll start.
These type of. I'm going to be in agreement with some of the people. I know some people like to troll in the comments and stuff like that, but these are the type of signings that we should be able to get in the club without any issue. When you're talking about your Bastonis and stuff like that, that's the kind of things you really have to work on and whether they're ever going to come in. But these kind of guys, it's a step up for them in a lot of sense. They, maybe not Maddison. He never won the league with Leicester, but he came into a team that's been pretty average after that. So really, these are the kinds of things. This is bread and butter. This is the kind of thing you should be able to get over the line into your club really easily. Not battling it out over a couple of million or something like that. Should be easy to get these guys in. I mean, Maddison's just been relegated for crying out loud. Yeah, it should be easy enough. Although he's going to have to suck some eggs after what he said about Tottenham. But we'll let that slide. We'll let that slide.
Yeah, listen, I do agree. Sorry, you go on.
No. All I was going to say in regards to Maddison is like, I think it was always there. We was always linked with him. I think it was just a question of whether the manager wanted to get it off the line. I don't think Conte wanted him. That's the bottom line. I think he could have came to the club last season. In all honesty, and I think that would have been done if Conte had pursued it. But he never gave off the vibe that he was wanted, and which is why we never ultimately got him. This time around, although the club was always expressed an interest in him, we actually. We moved different this year. It was like he was wanted from the get-go. And that's why we brought him in. But you're right. These players, they can come to Spurs and they can join Spurs. But it'd just be nice now to go and get someone where, one, we hadn't anticipated on getting, and two, it's like, wow, like that's a really good signing. For example, the players like Van der Ven, who we're linked with, and also, for me, why not sign Topsobia as well? Because I think we really need two quality centre backs. I think if we could do that, we could turn around and say, wow, not only got Van der Ven, but we've got Topsobia as well. That's a really.
But who do you think's better between the two? I think Topsobia is better than Van der Ven, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think Topsobia is more expensive, which is why we're linked.
I don't even know how much.
I don't even remains to be seen.
I don't even know how much they cost, right? So, but I'm just looking at the players based on the quality, their statistics over 4 or 5 years.
Sobia's a better player, man.
I,
He's played like something like 45 games for Bayern Leverkusen. He was a big part of Xabi Alonso's team, not only in the league but in Europe as well. And he has that little bit more experience, and that's why his evaluation is a lot higher than say someone like Van der Ven, who's moving. I think is on a region of £30 million or 30 million euros.
30 million euro, yeah.
Yeah,
about
so
right, yeah.
that's what we're looking at, and I think Top Serbia is going for something like 50+ million. So there's clearly a massive difference. But so getting them both at a club, don't forget that Top Serbia can also play left back. So to get them both at a club would be like an awesome statement. But you're looking at 80 million for two players, but you're fixing the defense.
That's where we need it. That's what we need to be putting.
I agree. If we have to spend 80 million and we only have 80 million to spend them on those two, keep Kane for another season and lose him at the end of next season. But you know what? You're sorting out the defense, which is where I think the biggest part of the problem is. And in midfield, with Bissouma now there, we can see Bentancur is back at Tottenham is training. So he's not his comeback is not soon, it's not immediate, but it's not that far away either. So we're kind of somewhere in between. But in the meantime, we do have Bissouma, we do have Maddison, and whether it's Højbjerg or Sarr or Skip or whatever, we have those in place there. So I think we need to sort that defensive part. For me, it's one of the most important part. The goalkeeper's there now. How good he is, time will tell. And whether he cuts the grade at Spurs, time will tell. But we have a goalkeeper in place now. For me, it's that defensive part because, like I said, how Postecoglou wants to play is further up the pitch. That means that we're going to have a higher line, a goalkeeper who's no longer playing on the baseline, which is what Lloris was doing. He's now going to be playing at the edge of the area, like a sweeper keeper, if you like, good on his feet. We're going to be playing that system. And that's what I was saying earlier on about the striker. Who's going to be that pressing guy? Because Kane's not going to do it. So we have to look into it. How much does Postecoglou want Kane to do that part of the job? Although we know Kane can score goals. So there's very important parts of this team that needs to be addressed straight away. And one of them is getting that defense right, play up high line. Van der Ven's a very quick defender. So we need to have those characteristics in place. To get it going from the off.
Respond to this. No big clubs were after Madison, so it's an easy deal to do.
All right.
There's a reason.
Newcastle.
There's a reason. Newcastle and FFP.
The reason why they didn't sign him because Newcastle had Bruno Guimaraes already on our highest earner, and they didn't want anyone to go above this.
Allow them to be able to make that move because they just got Tonali
as well. So yeah,
City didn't need anyone because they have the Brogniers. Chelsea didn't need one, didn't need them. So, Mr. Post Office gotta have context there. I think if some teams needed,
I'd rather have James Madison than Kai Havertz. So there you go, Mr. Grooms or Post Office.
100%.
Right? You guys can pay.
No sense to me whatsoever.
You can pay £60 million for Kai Havertz. We'll pay 40 for Madison. I'll take that.
Wait, do you know what the funny thing is? Kai Havertz has clearly identified at Chelsea that he's not a number 9. So if they spent 60 million on Kai Havertz and they're not going to play as a number 9, that means they're going to play him as a number 10. If they're going to use him as a number 10, why not spend that 65 million on Madison where he was already a number 10? So it don't make sense to me. So is he playing as a number 9 for Arsenal, which is what they really needed? And I'll tell you something else. If Arsenal had Kane up front last season, probably would have won the league by February, March. So it swings and roundabouts. You spend 65 on Havertz. We spend it on Madison. We'll see where that goes. We'll see how that works out for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, for me too, just looking at the Madison signing, for example, Madison.
Oh, sorry. Madison's cost us 30 million because Winks has gone the other way for 10 million. Someone has just pointed out in the chat. So we spend even less than what you guys did.
But I mean, just looking at Madison in his career, right? So leaving the championship at the age of 21, going to Leicester. The least amount of goals he scored was at 21 and 22, and it was 7 and 6. But ever since he's hit 23, he's come close to or he's averaged 10 goals per season, which we haven't had from the midfield in 4 years, 5 years since Eriksen left. since
Yeah.
since the season
Ali-
before Eriksson left, right? So because Eriksson didn't score that many goals in his last season, he kind of down tools, right? But it's been a long time since we've had someone contribute that many goals out of the midfield. That itches a little bit back. I mean, we're losing Kane. Kane's a loss too. But there's hope here if you can run around it. But I don't want to hear anybody say, just like what the post office said, Mr. Post Office said. I don't want to hear Spurs fans 4 or 5 months from now. Well, Madison, was he really that good? I mean, who was really in for him? Like, I can already hear those narratives going on, right? If this player, who everybody at the time would have said was a good player, he's coming out of Leicester and look where they were, blah, blah, blah. No, that's a silly excuse. The guy's consistently produced in a team worse than the one he's coming into now, right? That's not arguable. They got relegated, right? So they were worse. And made things happen. I don't want to hear Spurs fans 4 or 5 months from now, when Madison's only got 2 goals or 3 goals, saying, "Oh, he's blah." No, we ruined him. If he doesn't perform, it's because we made the mistake, not because he's a bad quality player.
And his performances and his stats back his form for the last 5 seasons, right? He's been one of the best players outside of Salah, Kane, and whoever else. I mean, my feelings on the signing so far is I'm generally happy with them. I think Maddison's a really good signing. Been admirer of him for a few years now. But I would like to hope that us as fans don't give the players a chance to prove themselves on the pitch before we go in and say, "Oh, this is a bad buys," or "This is a 2 out of 10 window," or 3 out of 10 window, because these are the type of players we ask for. We're saying, "Oh, why don't we do what Brighton do?" Well, this is sort of what Brighton do, right? They go out, they buy young players.
Excellent point, Maz.
Sorry?
No, so that's excellent point.
Yeah, they go out, they buy these young players, the up and coming young players. Sometimes their stats, back them up as well. And they're young and they see what happens, right? And Brighton normally get it right so far, and the Brentfords of this world. But if you judge our transfers in the last, for a very long time now, we don't really buy top quality players. So these dreams of buying these dreams of buying Bastonis and things like that, we're not used to that. So I don't know. This is why I'm sort of happy with what we've done so far, because at least there's a glimmer of hope that there might be something more than they currently are. And there's no denying that, Vicario, from what I've seen of him and read about him, that he's well regarded. There's no denying that. Things, there's articles out there proving that point. Maddison, we know all about. His stats back up what you see on the pitch with him for the last 5 seasons. Who's the other guy? And Solomon, he's an unknown quantity. We don't know how well he's going to do. But for me, sorry, Maury, for me, he, in a way, it's no different to a Dan Juma in that sense. But
no, don't mention that name on this channel. It'll get you.
But no, he brings up a good point, though, right? Because the Solomon guy, people are already making a bigger deal about us signing him than they did about us signing James Maddison, and that boggles my mind. This guy started 4 matches last season for Fulham, and because he only played 15 matches the entire game and scored every 145 minutes, now all of a sudden he's some great superstar left winger. No, he's not. No. He has to prove it.
He's a player on a free will that's come. He'll be a.
But why are we rating this transfer as a fan base over James Maddison?
Well, let's listen to this. Well, here's the thing.
I've seen nothing negative, but
Tommy asked me a good question.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
that's the point. You see nothing negative about it.
Tommy,
nothing negative.
Big up. Tommy Talks Ball. He asked me a question on the WhatsApp chat. And to answer Bertie Hotspur's question, in your opinions, can any of these signings be a statement signing? And I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to say yes. the Solomon signing, but in a weird way, right? All right. Levy hires Ange, right? And Big Ange is not or Mourinho or even Pep in the sense of, hey, get me this big name player, get me this big signing and whatsoever, right? What we've heard about Big Ange, and I hope the Celtic fan could back me up, is that he brings out gems, right? He looks all around the world and finds the who is this player type of a player, right? Because all over Twitter yesterday, right, and YouTube, who is Manor Solomon? Who is this guy? Who is this guy, right? And apparently, Big Edge, everywhere he's gone, including Celtic, he makes these who players, and I said this in my video, he makes these who players into gems, not superstars, but quality gems. So this signing is a statement in that get used to these signings because the James Madison's signings are more of an anomaly. I'm going to say this is more of an anomaly. If you know the meaning of that, it's going to be more of the rare. You're going to see more of this type of signings, right? And there's some people who are happy about it. All right, let's find some gems because this is Tottenham. This is where we are, right? We cannot begin to look at, the Bostonians, the Guardiola, but we can't even begin to look at even below that level, right? We got to look third tier and find these hidden gems, right? Which, if they pan out, okay, financially, hey, we're great. But like Alex says, Mr. Box Office, I'm not a finance fan. I just want to see talent on the field. So with this Solomon signing, right, it was a statement signing of like, get used to this, right? I'm designed to like get used to this type of signings, right? And so that's why I'm not excited or disappointed because it was previewed that this is what's going to happen. You're going to see more of the Manor Solomon signings.
Can I be a little bit of a negative Nancy here on this one then? Because if that's true, if Postecoglou is renowned for bringing in these unknown players that are actually hidden gems, then with Jota going to Saudi Arabia right now this window,
I can't believe that.
Why didn't we get him then? If he's this no known player that's obviously a gem, why isn't Postecoglou going back and bringing him from Celtic to the Premier League if he's an actual gem?
Yeah, that was a shocker. I still can't believe I just saw it the other day. He's going to Saudi Arabia. But wait, hold up, what?
Yeah, for like 20 million euro.
Like, why are we not getting this guy? This is one of his
maybe
plays.
He's not a gem, right? That's what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm making, right?
Yeah.
But maybe that's a good thing, Will. I mean, okay, I'm doing this on purpose to play devil's advocate here. But maybe Ange realised that the Premier League isn't the Scottish Premier, right? And that those types of players he brought in for that league just won't work in this league. And I think we should give him the benefit of the doubt from that perspective.
But how does he know what players work in this league when he's never coached in it?
Well, that's the unknown quantity part, right? But we've tried everything else. I mean, the caveat to that is, well, we've tried the Mourinhos and the Contes, and we didn't listen to them. So, what's the next alternative?
Listen, anything on a free stinks of a Levy signing. If I'm honest, I mean, I don't see this guy being being a starting player. I see him being a backup to a Son or someone like that. That's all I see him as. And anyone that thinks he's coming in to start is a joke. I mean,
is he better than Brian Hill? Yes. Right. Okay. So
then Brian Hill was never going to be a start, was he? That's another Levy signing.
Yeah, but guys, we can't criticise us bringing in squad players when we
can't.
For the last 20 years, we've never had a squad.
It is what it is.
I'm
sure his wages are cheap.
Yeah, and I'm not even upset that he's coming. Right, I'm not upset that he's coming. I'm not upset even that the type of player that he is coming and being a squad player, backup, blah blah. I'm not upset with that. What I'm upset about is the fan base making it as like he's going to start over Son. Like that's how good of a player he
Oh
is.
yeah, that's just daft.
That's the part that bothers me about our fan base, right? It's what bothered me about when we signed Danjuma. It's what bothered me when we signed Brian Hill. Is that when our fan base, Hill Messi, he's been nothing but like he can't even tie a knot, not even just the whole boot, but just even lace up one loop of Messi's boots, Brian Hill, right? So this is the part that irks me. Why can't we just say a player is what he is? He's a good squad player.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I totally agree. Yeah, totally agree.
It's this, of course, squad player, free transfer. Look,
Yeah, good business.
if they've identified him as somebody to just bolster the squad, because we're going to be losing a few squad players as well. So for me, I'm not here or there. I don't know too much about him, and sometimes that could be a blessing, not knowing too much about a player. Just judging for what you see on the pitch. I'm not here or there about that. That's not the signings that I really focusing on. I think the squad, sort that out. We're losing a lot of squad players, hopefully this summer. But the main thing is
Centre-backs.
Van
For
de
me,
Ven.
it's the first 11, because we're playing once a week, guys. Don't forget, we're playing once a week. Domestic cups aside, once a week. That
If we
first
draw
11 for
some,
me is the one.
yeah, if we draw some parallels to the past, though, when we signed Jan Vertonghen and Alderweireld, they weren't. Yeah, they had good reputations, but they weren't the global
Yeah,
superstars
they're
that they
elevated,
became.
absolutely.
Yeah, so with Van de Ven coming in, I see him, and if we get Sober as well, in that same mold. They're not quite at the level of Jan and Toby what they ended up, but they could be that in the future. So I'll be ecstatic if we get those players in, but like I said earlier, they have to show it on the pitch. We could get excited now, but if they don't come the start of the season, if they end up like Brian Gill, which Will predicted, was the first person to predict that it was gonna be crap, then well, we're all wrong then, aren't we?
It was a costly one, wasn't it? It's not only whether
Yeah,
he was going to do one.
25 million plus
We paid a
Lamella,
lot of
right?
money for him. It's
Yeah.
not the case for Solomon. That's why I think the pressure's a little bit more off for him. I'm not saying, by the way, in the chat, I'm not saying that it's free, and I'm just saying that it's not a
He's not going to be on
risk in
high
a sense.
wages
Yeah, it's
either,
not.
right? So
Yeah, so
because I mean, this is the thing that I'm talking about, right? So like, here, just an example on a Twitter post that's coming out here. Manor Solomon, this is from the Spurs Express on Twitter, right? Manor Solomon scored the Premier League goal every 145 minutes last season, the 8th best goal scorer to minute ratio in the entire league, right? Like, but when you look at his whole entire career stats, he's never started more than 10 games for any team that he's played for, even in Shakhtar, right? He scored no more than 4 goals, right? Other than one, he scored 9 goals in the 2020-21 season, which he played the most he's ever played, and he still only started 14 games there, right? So you're talking about a guy who was a sub at Shakhtar and a sub at Fulham, right? So why is our Twitter, you big, mainspring blue check, even before you could buy a blue check accounts, out there making this guy out like he's the 8th best goal scorer in the league?
I agree. And that's what I was trying to say to you, Will. I've seen the opposite of that. I've seen lots of people saying, what the fuck is this transfer about? He's average at best, absolutely average. And I tend to agree, but it's a free signing. He's a bench player. We need backup. We can't just go and buy, first team players, because if you've got no one to cover injuries, or you've got no one to bring off the bench, etc., in any kind of the same kind of level, then it's you're back to what you are last year. You've got to have some depth on that bench, even if you are playing once a week.
I want to answer this. I agree with you. I'm just saying that the signings, I expect these signings are going to happen, right? Cheap, not saying that the players are not good. I just think it's going to be, wanting to find hidden gems. Like this is the coach who's not going to complain that we're not going after Ezzy, or who's be complaining that they're not going after what other player this woman to be out there. Even the Kessie, right? like we're going to probably look for the 10 to 15 million dollar range. We're going to try to get these players, and Michael, I want to read his point. Many clubs do free signings, and there were a lot of good players available to free. Indica, start with one that comes to mind. But I see
Frank Kessie.
Kessie. Like I see this signing as, it's a meh signing that could potentially be, like I said, Big Ange is supposed to unearth gems, right? He's better. He's already better than Lucas Moura. He already has more goals than Richarlison. So he's already ahead. But he has more goals than Richarlison. It's
not
just
hard. I think I'll
Eric
get more
Dyer
goals
had more goals than Richarlison.
That's
not a measure of like, hey, he's a good player.
I'm still in a state of shock as
Emerson
how
had more
bad
goals.
Richarlison has been
But
for
we
us.
need-
I wake up and I'm like, oh my god, it's so bad.
Out of
just
position.
And so the first thing I said in my video, okay, this is a depth signing, right? Someone we could plug in, and because we don't have. This is a sign that Brian Hill's going to be gone. This signing tells me that Brian Hill is going to be gone. So we need that depth. So, and it's on a free, but like I said, there were a lot of people who were available on a free that's just like, hey, we're gonna go after them, but who knows?
I just want people just to be level-headed, right? Not going over the top, because then what you do is you raise the expectations on players beyond what they are, right? Like, would I have such a bee in my bonnet about Brian Hill if people had just said, he's a young player that's for the academy and no? But when people make it out like he's supposed to be some a generational talent, future world-class player, these are actual quotes from people saying things live on stream, not just on Twitter, right? Like, this is the thing that gets me into arguments with people, right? Is because they go off of an emotion that's not based in any form of reality at all, right? And that's fine if you're just, for you to keep that to yourself, but it's not okay for football debates. It's just not.
Yeah. So
not accurate.
So I will say this, and I did say this. I did say this. Winks is gone, but I said somewhere, somehow, if Davison Sanchez and Eric Dyer is gone in this window, I'm giving it a 9. That's how much I dislike Dyer and Sanchez, especially Dyer. But getting Winks out, is that a good start in regards of getting rid of the Deadwood?
Yeah, we got a lot. We got what? We still got Lo Celso and Ndombele. Who else we got? Regulon, although I think that he should be given another look.
Rodon.
Joe Rodon. There's more. There's more.
There's some that's got to go. There's some that's got to go. Right, Rodon. Obviously, Winks has gone. Dyer's got to go. Sanchez apparently is on his way. Tanganga is also being scouted by Luton. Funnily enough, Luton telling another one as well. I think they're the guys that have got to go. I think you'll find that the others. So, and I think there's a couple in here. So Jed Spence, I think he is going to be. So Postecoglou has only been here for 2 days, right? He's got to get these players into training to even understand whether he wants them or not. Talk to them personally, understand their attitude, see where they play, put them in scenarios where he's going to be playing and see what they're like, right? That's what I imagine is going to happen over the next week or so. I think after the first week, we'll start seeing those names dangled out there in terms of who he wants gone and who he doesn't want gone, because he's only been there, and even though Ndombele's going to be in there, right? Because I hate to say this, but I know it's not all about YouTube and it's not all about stats, but if you look at some of his highlights, he's such a talent. That guy is such a talent. If he just could change his personality on the way that he acts, he's such a baller when he can go past players so easy. He reminds me a bit of a Dombele and that kind of player where he can just glide past people, but his attitude's got to be completely different. He's got to become a completely different player. Maybe Ange can get that out of him, but I think he'll know within in a week or so in training what he's going to be like.
Yeah,
so there are a lot of fringe people that are he's probably looking at this week. I think Spence is one of them. Lo Celso probably will be when he comes back. Ndombele, and a few other guys. I think.
Don't you think Rodon
once that's gone,
deserves a look at again, Lee?
Not if we're going to get these two guys, or we're
if
looking
we
at
get
these
two
guys,
I think it's a completely different scenario because you just want to get rid of as many of the defenders as you
I'd rather
possibly can, right?
get rid of Dyer and Davies before I got rid of Joe Rodon.
Yeah, I just what I remember of Rodon is when he was under Jose, he was the better, more competent defender. I felt at that time to Dyer and Sanchez.
Rodon
Whether
was
or
one
not
of those guys, right?
Stinks, however, is another question.
I think
Rodon was one of the guys. You stick him in Welsh team, Iggy, right?
Yeah.
And the guy will throw himself on a grenade. You know what I mean? He has some fantastic games for Wales, but you put him in the Premier League and he's a completely different kettle of fish.
Lo Celso for Argentina.
The thing is, the players that you guys are talking about have been tried and tested for so many years, like the Dyers, and you've seen what they can do, even at their best. You've seen they've had an untold amount of chance. So I'm done with that. Move them on. With likes of Rodon, maybe he can stay on as a squad player because that guy has not really had a fair crack of the whip to say, have we really seen what this guy's about? You're right. Under Mourinho, we saw something there. Conte, not so, So I'm not here or there. I'd rather give somebody that's unproven or not been proven, hasn't done anything at Spurs, give them a try than rather see the same old people that I've seen year after year, like the Davis. I know what he gives. I know what he brings. Dyer, Sanchez, Tanganga. I know that he fills in the English quota, but what's going on with him? So if they're not, for me, those guys need to be moved on because up until now, I've not seen anything that's going to change my mind on them in regards to their Tottenham career. So why not give Rodon a possibility, not maybe in the first 11, because I do think we need that. I said it earlier on, the Van der Vens and Topsobia, but maybe even both, bring them in and get rid of the players that are not required for this team, because I do think that 12, 13, 14 players have got to be quality players because we're not going to play in Europe. So for me, those 13, 14 players have got to be real good and exactly what Postecoglou needs. And then the others can be filled with squad players because we won't need as many. And I'll bring in as well a few players from the academy, especially to fill in that English quota as well. So for me, start getting rid of this deadwood. And Ndombele, I mean, I've spoken numerous times about.
You just brought up one of the names that it looks like we have come to personal terms.
Yeah,
Van der Ven. We also are interested in Tapsoba. But last night, tweeted by Fabrizio Romano says that they're looking to bring in one of the two. And,
cheaper option.
And then the talks have been back on with Barcelona for Lenglet. If that happens, I'm going.
Yeah, but
because we need two. I mean, beggars can be choosers. I'll take one. We need two. That's the problem. We need two, three.
Look, I agree. Right. This is where I do absolutely agree with what Scott's been saying in terms of our ambition, in terms of the type of players we're coming in. Albeit, we rarely showed that a good level of ambition as much as we want anyway. But I'll go back to the question I said a couple of weeks ago, Mario. I think you were on the show as well, where I said, look, would you trade Langley for Sanchez? Because Langley shouldn't be a starting defender for us. Full stop. If we get Van der Ven,
he's slow with that highlight.
But
better than Sanchez.
Bambi on ice versus a slow Langley. And that's the way we've
the
got to look
Longley,
at
the Longley
things.
thing is like, what is it? We're talking about £5 million. That's
it's up to like 15 now. It's
Yeah,
10
but
plus.
you need to get rid of the other players. There's no point having it. Just
It's a
doesn't bring
waste.
in. It just doesn't bring anything to me that we don't already have in the team. We need players that come in with characteristics we don't already have in the team. So
But like,
someone like Van der Ven, who's a quick defender, we're going to play high line and makes sense. Bring him in. Top Sobia. This thing, I don't mind how much we spend on the player, as long as he's the right fit for the team and he's exactly what we require to help us move forward with the new way of playing. Then get him in. But to fill in gaps, and I don't mean to call him long gap or anything like that, but to fill in gaps because he's just a cheaper option, for me, it's not. Don't bring him in if he's only going to sit on the bench. You just spend 15 minutes to get a side to sit on the bench who have no thing about playing him in the first team. Does he impact your first team? We need to acquire better for our first 11. If that is
especially,
not the fit, there's no point. There's
so
no point.
I'd be lying if I said I've watched a lot of this Van der Ven fella, right? But just looking at the numbers and his age, he's 21. He's had one season, right? Like, why? And that season was okay. I mean, he wasn't bad.
But we've got to give these younger players a chance, right? Everyone's got to start somewhere. And if we want
not for a starting 11, for a rebuild though. 21, right? Like, if you're going to put somebody next to Romero, shouldn't we be putting somebody to start next to Romero, somebody who's at least had 4 or 5 years of experience?
Need to get Top Sobia. Then Top Sobia and Van der Ven would be perfect sense. Then we'd have.
I agree, and this is why I don't. This is why I don't believe what Fabrizio Romano says, because to me, Romano's got a hell of a lot more wrong than what he's got right. So why people hang on his every single word is laughable for me. But it makes sense for us to get 2 new centre backs, not just the one. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but I just don't know why we're because Tapsovia's price tag isn't that big either, right? It's something like what, 40, 50 million, something
30, 40 million, something like that.
Yeah. So, but he's got, at least this guy has got 5 years experience playing in the top 5 league in Europe.
If I have to choose one, I'd go for Tapsoba. I said it from the get go. But for me, I would sign them both because I see something in them as well. So
if you're signing Van der Ven and is like a Joe Rodon type player, squad player, bring him in young, develop, fill in for some cut matches like that. That's fine.
It's a big investment. £30 million it's a big.
Yeah, but Van der Ven for me for 30 million is not a player that comes in and starts for us straight out the bat. He's just not, in my opinion. I'm sorry. Like, you have to show me more than one season. Right, you have to play more than one season for you to come in and start.
Postecoglou brought in Carter Vickers, didn't he? And he had an amazing couple of years up there. Now, I'm not saying, again, it's a different league.
In
it's
Scotland.
a poorer league. Yeah, I know that's always going to be the thing. But isn't this a case that we just got to wait and see?
But even Cameron Carter Vickers had more experience than Van der Ven did, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And so I did not. I just totally forgot about this. Tapsoba apparently will be played at the AFCON, so we missed him in the month of January. So that makes it even prevalent that we signed two center backs because
I want a center back who will miss January if he's the best option. Yes, I want a center back who will miss the entire month of January. If he is going to keep us from conceding 60-plus goals a season, yes.
63, yeah. So
I think we will lose. I mean, if we're going to talk about the
4 games, right?
Yeah, the African nations, you're looking at losing Basuma as well. We will lose Basuma.
Son's going to be out for the Asian Cup too. The Asian Cup's this.
He's got Solomon though.
That's part. We got Solomon and Brian Hill. We're good. We can cover that.
Just going back to Will's point, though. I mean, the Van der Ven thing is obviously picking up speed now because the Netherlands are out the under 21s now, right? And he's out there playing the under 21s. But if you look at his match stats for this tournament, he's played every single minute of the 3 matches in the group And his average tackles per matches over 3 matches is 0.67. Apparently, he made 2 tackles in 270 minutes. Doesn't read very well, does it?
No, and it's under, and that's U21s. That's not even full side, right? That's my point.
No, exactly. So this is why I think it's absolute, as Maz said, it's absolute madness that we would settle on one of these guys. Surely you want both, and Van der Ven would almost be like an understudy to both of these guys, and you can rotate them.
Yeah,
because otherwise, if you're buying both of them, you've now got a situation where you've basically got 3 central defenders who are going to be fighting for those 2 spots. And the last thing in the world that you want to do going into a new season is keep changing your defenders, especially the centre backs. You want to keep them as coherent and together as possible for stability.
It's massive.
Because we shouldn't be opposed to speculating in the market though, because we criticise. We've got to be careful that we don't just contradict ourselves, right? Because we've been criticising Spurs for not bringing in these young players, doing this, doing that. So I think we need to give them a chance and see and judge them with our own eyes.
Good. Speculation is good when it's based on data, right? Not a whim, right? Because then
I agree.
If you're pissing into the wind, right, 9 times out of 10 you're just going to end up getting pissed on yourself, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
But if you're pissing with the wind, right, you're good to go, right? So we need to find out which way the wind is actually blowing. And for a guy like Tapsoba, for me, he's 23, still young, right? But he's got 5 solid years playing in the Bundesliga, right? 4 in the Bundesliga, 1 in Portugal, right? Where he's performed and played an average and started an average of 29 to 30 matches a season. Where with Van der Ven, you've got 1. Right? And playing for an 8th place Wolfsburg, right?
Does this mean that Langley, though, is a better option?
I think he's
not in Postecoglou's system.
Not in Postecoglou's system. Like, he doesn't have the physical attributes to perform in a Postecoglou system. But if you're talking about security and safety, but I would rather not sign Longley and sign both Tapsoba and Van der Ven than sign Van der Ven and Longley.
Absolutely. Agreed. Yeah.
Listen, for me, like I said it earlier on, I'll say it again. If we had 100 million to spend on the market, invest them on the centre backs. We've got the goalie. That is one area that killed us last year, and we have to address it, man. Because I think we've got good enough. We've got enough quality in midfield, and certainly up front as we currently are, to do well next season. But without 100%. That solid foundation at the back and the goalie, which for me is where our season died on that alone. The amount of goals that we conceded was ridiculous. The quality of the goals that we were conceding was ridiculous. And corner kicks, set pieces, we didn't have any commanding presence in the area by goalkeeper or defenders. We conceded so many poor goals that if we don't address this now, for me, we haven't really learned our lesson for last season. So for me, the biggest investment this season or this summer has to be the defense, man. And for me, that goes above all else.
From what I've seen of Van der Ven, though, he does look very impressive. I've seen a couple of games of him from last season.
If he's the best fit, then let's do it. I don't mind.
Obviously, since we've been linked, I've been reading all the articles and watching, as we all do, YouTube clips and stuff. And he does look a very impressive young player. But then so did Sanchez. But, if we do sign him, then let's see.
Then that means he was the best. It was the best option for the. Listen, as long as if Postecoglou says, "Look, man, that's my guy. He's quick. He's rapid. Yeah, he's inexperienced. But for £30 million, you're looking at the prices that everyone's going at. What do you want? 21 million. There's a value at the value. If he does really well, then his valuation will go up because of his age. So." There's always an element of risk when you sign a player, especially an unknown one and not really known player. Or if you want an established player, spend the money.
But then that's the thing we don't know about this, and that's what for me is why I'm skeptical and why I really focus on the data, because I don't have the talks behind the scenes. For all we know, Postecoglou could want Tapsoba as a number one. Levy says, well, we only can afford 30.
Yeah,
He's like, okay,
yeah.
I'll take Van der Ven then, right? Like, we shouldn't be, especially in this current situation that we're at, going, okay, I'm not going to spend, 45, 50 million on the player that will really help us out. So I'll take the one at 30 that maybe will help us out, right? Like, we're not in a place to
We'll never
gamble.
know that. We'll never know that. We'll never know that conversation.
I know that we'll never know that, but that's what I'm saying. And that's why when I'm trying to have conversations and discussions with fans about new players, it's based on the data, because we don't know, right? We don't.
I'm not saying we don't have the money to spend. Listen, I've said it many a times. I said if we only had 80, 90, 100 million, I'll spend it on the two centre backs. Listen, Spurs are in the top 10 richest club in world football. They're in the top 10. So the money is there. What I don't want it to be, I don't want to make this stream about me going at the board. You guys know that I've gone at them in the past many times. You guys know where my standpoint is regarding this board. We have the money to go and spend it. Whether we go and spend it or not, I don't know, guys. But I'm saying that I'd rather that money, if we have, I don't know, 100, 150 million to spend this summer. That's not without the sale of the players that we don't want. But if we're able to just spend that money, then I would heavily invest in our defenders. But I'm aware that Spurs have the money to spend more than 150 million on players if they truly wish to do that. I just think without European competition, I don't think we need to make 15, 16, 17, 18 quality players in the squad. I think if we got 13 quality players that we can rotate in the 11, and then the others are bolstered by squad players and youth, perhaps, that not only fill in the English quota but also give them the experience to get involved in building their careers essentially from the ground up. Then so be it. But I think we have a good enough team. I think if Højbjerg goes, that means we're going to get a number 8. I think Bentancur is going to do really well once he becomes available again. Bissouma, I think, is going to be that pivot, and I hope to see a Bissouma that was really good the way he was at Brighton. Maddison, we got that midfield. You can see the midfield taking shape. Then we got the likes of Sarr and Skip that can rotate. We're remains to be seen what happens with those two players. The attacking players, we got them. With Kane right now. We are complete. If Kane goes, we have to review that. But with the likes of Son Kulusevski, who's a new signing, because we've signed him on a 5, he's permanently at Spurs the next 5 years. If he steers away from injuries, we hope to see the Kulusevski that signed at the beginning. So there are elements of the way. Porro, we don't forget Porro. Udogie coming in, exciting young players. Listen, I've seen Udogie in the European Championship in the
Not
Euros.
a problem with that guy. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player, but he's young. He's going to make mistakes. He made a mistake. I saw him play for it. He made a really elementary mistake, but that's part of his own growth. We have players that you know what it is. They're unproven. They're good. We know they're good, but they're unproven. But they're hungry, and they want to succeed. And there's these elements that we currently need. Exciting young players that want to succeed. Whether they do it or not, remains to be seen. But I'm happy to see that evolve. We just now need to have that base. I'll keep drumming it home. We need to have that base, that solidity, defensive base that allows everything else to go the way we want. Those of you that you've been in football a long time, understand football, know that nothing can take off without that solidity defensive base. It can't happen. It won't happen. And that's why I'm drumming it home to the cows come home that we need to invest in this defense and get rid of the deadwood that we currently have in that same area.
Exactly. And two things quickly. I want to read the super chat. A user, thank you, a user. Big support of the channels. Levy knows Kane is going, hence the decent signings. We talked about that in the beginning. Is this the Harry Kane money? I don't know.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. And I want to bring up Double D. I think everybody, Double D, wants scorched earth. Like we want. I can speak for myself. I want Dyer gone, Sanchez gone, right? Because I think Dyer's on the field and off the field. I think he's been the cancer in the last couple of years. Dyer, Sanchez, Langley, Davies, right? Especially when playing this highlight, and Jefferson Ganger. I've said he's the slowest brother that I know in football. And I want him gone. And I think I put your comments, but one comment I did not put up because it was kind of xenophobic because you were talking about the American. I think you were talking about Will because he said you'd rather have Langley than Dyer. So stay away from that, because that won't be shown. But other than that, yeah, all the other comments were appropriate. And yeah, we smacked by Arsenal if this defense doesn't improve. So I just want to mention that.
Yeah, and while Langley didn't play as many games as all the others, I can only think of maybe one or two mistakes that he made all season last year. And while he's not great and he's not physically capable to run, right, like the other players are, he's less of a risk, right, because of what he does, the numbers that he puts up. And that's just a fact, right? You can say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, whatever, go watch American football. But that's fine. Put in a super chat for $50, 50 pounds, and I'll say I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. So,
yeah. The last topic I wanted to get to before the last subject. We're all in agreement. Yeah, big up, Double D, big up. The last subject is a confusing one. Because I don't get it. Why is everyone upset with the Poch interview? And I'll put it up. We're gonna end with this. It's all over Twitter. People are blowing up. They're upset, right? So this is Poch right here. Poch says, let me move the banner. All right.
I blame Scott.
Yeah, Scott, for Pochettino's interview. It was easy to say yes to Chelsea. We work hard. We'll play in a way the fans can enjoy football. The history of Chelsea is to win and be at the top. We can't have ups and downs. In the last 10, 12, 15 years, Chelsea, the greatest team in England. And I think he's talking overall, not only Premier Leagues, because we know Man City has won the most Premier League titles, but Chelsea at that time, before City won the Champions League, Chelsea was the only one in the last 15 years, I want to say, has won the Champions League. Yeah, twice. European trophies. So
I have to say, sorry, Mario, I have to say that sometimes when I know that he speaks good English, but I'm looking at it with different eyes, not just reading it as a British person. I'm also reading it as a foreign. When the foreign guys say Chelsea's the greatest team in England in the last 10, 12 years, I think it probably most successful team in England in the last 10, 12, 15 years. The greatest,
best.
The best. If you look at it in the context, say they're the greatest club in the world. They've been the most successful, and it's true they have, man. They've won leagues, they've won Champions League. He's not stating anything that's wrong. And this is what if we're gonna criticize Postecoglou, what he said at the beginning, in his first interview. This is his first interview. What do you want him to say, man? Yeah, I'm not happy to be here. Tottenham till I die. What is he gonna say, man?
Yes, that's what I want him to say, Iggy.
But it's like it doesn't make sense. Like what? He's his first interview.
Exactly. So let me remove the snake, as everybody on Twitter is calling. First of all, everybody knows he's going to Chelsea over a month ago. Like everybody know he was going to go. But the thing I don't understand is that, right? Of course, I expect everybody to boo him, especially at the first home game back, because he's with Chelsea, he's with the enemy. But the thing is, everybody's having a meltdown, today, Snake, whatsoever. The guy needs a job. He's been unemployed, right? He got mouths to feed.
If we wanted him, we should have gone and got him. It's as simple as that. We didn't make our move. It's not like we made our move. He said no because I'm going to Chelsea. That didn't happen. If you want to boo him, absolutely, for that 90 minutes, that Chelsea versus Spurs, you're booing him because he's representing Chelsea, not because of what he represented at Tottenham. That's not the Pochettino we're booing. We're booing the fact that he's now a Chelsea coach, and that's fine. It lasts for 90 minutes, but that's after that it's forgotten about. But to be upset that he said those words in his first ever interview as a Chelsea manager, an employee of Chelsea Football Club, when we didn't do absolutely anything to try and bring him back, and be pissed off about it, come on, man. It's like
people are wishing. Calm down, people. Calm down. Before we go back to the topic, Houston, once again, if Kane goes, please bring in Dusan Vlahovic. I'm all for that. The Vlahovic that you guys see is the Allegri tainted Vlahovic.
Awful.
Vlahovic needs a new address. So I agree with this if it happens, because
he's not going to cost 80 million pounds right now either.
Yeah,
right?
it's not. Yeah.
But we got to balance it out and say we need to see the Fiorentina Vlahovic, not the one seen at Juventus. That's two different players.
Postecoglou plays more of a Florentina type system, right? So that's what I'm saying. It would probably.
It could work. It could work.
He's going to press. He's going to run hard. He's young, right? He's got legs.
Away from Allegri. I'm telling you, Allegri kills careers. Chessa could come too. Federico Chessa comes.
Levy kills careers as well.
Some might say Tottenham kills careers as well, Morris. It might not be the best move for him, you know.
Allegri doesn't work with young players. He doesn't develop young players. He doesn't. So
I know.
Vlahovic falls into that. Chiesa has as Cannon's insinuated that he doesn't wish to stay on with Allegri in charge, which is why there's talks about Chiesa potentially leaving. But
my Juve mates hate Allegri. The ones that live in Italy, they hate him. They'll take Conte back, anybody back. Even
do you know what? There's a comment there for Greco Christos, and I totally believe that. By the way, it's at 10:20 p.m. I believe that. We all knew that Pochettino wanted to stay in London. We knew that he wanted to return to the Premier League, and even more so in London. And we knew that he was waiting for a call from Spurs. We know that. But it didn't happen, and I believe that too. If it came down to Spurs and Chelsea, he would have chosen Spurs, 100%. But you know what? Postecoglou is our guy. Pochettino is Chelsea's guy, and we just got to move on with it because it's not fair and it's disrespectful to the guy that we currently have at the club. You know, he's here to do a work job, and we need to focus more on what we do with Postecoglou and as a team than focus on how we're feeling about somebody that managed us for X amount of years that is no longer be part of the club for what? How many years now? We've got to let it go, man.
I agree. Like, people are too focused on Poch. We need to just move on. Like us, the snake. Like, he already left. We didn't want him. He was gone. Lee, Maz, Will, any thoughts on why everybody's upset with Poch's interview today?
No, I mean that's like you being upset with your ex-girlfriend who you cheated on and broke up with because she started going out with somebody else. It's just stupid, right?
With a guy across the road that you know well and you hate.
Yeah, like
Listen, as I said,
then she said he's got a bigger schlong than you as well at the same time.
There we go. There we go.
But they probably do, right? That's the problem. In this case, they do. They're a 10-inch or we're a 2, right? Like, I mean, what do you?
Yeah, well, us 1 inches have got to stick together, right? It makes it look bigger. Anyway, listen, I've been from day one with Pochettino. It's always been our issue, right? It's you can't be pissed off at the guy because he's taking a job at a rival when we didn't pick up the phone. What people expect him to go into his first Chelsea and go, well, I'm glad to be here. The pricks down the road didn't call me. Apparently they lost my number, but I'm here now, so I might as well do a job. It's just not how PR works. And I'm sure that a couple of those things that he said are ever so sly digs, because he's going to be. You're going to have the and you're going to hold grudges at some point, but just leave it now. Get on with it. He'll get the flack when he comes to the lane, I'm sure, and and then we'll finish the game. We'll move on, and we just need to get on with our lives and just deal with what's happening at our club rather than what's happening at other people's clubs. That's the problem.
Imagine that. Tottenham till the time drops the mic and walks out. That would have been hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. That would have been hilarious. But guys, look, I'll be
Never
honest with
gonna
you.
happen.
I'm not gonna. I'll be honest with you. If I'm at Chelsea game, I'm not gonna boo him. I'm not gonna cheer for him.
No,
I'm not gonna boo him. I'm gonna be indifferent. I'm not gonna boo the guy because I know the situation and I know that he would have chosen us over them. I know that. But so it's not his fault. But at the same time, the man's got to work. The man's got to be involved in football, and it's good to see how he gets on. At his club. Not that I'm rooting for him, of course. As a Spurs, I'm not rooting for him. But the guy needs to do what he's got to do, and we just got to let him to it.
And think about it this way:
different.
if he's successful at Chelsea and ends up winning the league there, then he'll end up managing us in the next couple of years, right? So
well, at the end of his career,
without the pressure of winning anything, because he would have won everything over there. So
just like Jose and Conte, right? So ABB.
Yeah, true.
It's true. Yeah, it's a lot. Go ahead,
Mari. I know there's a bit of a topic that's floating around at the moment that people are talking about, and I know we said we weren't going to go on for too long, but I'd like to get everyone's thoughts maybe in the last 5 minutes if we've run up to 10:30.
Yeah,
on the captaincy situation at Tottenham.
Now,
there's been a lot of discussion on this, and I don't know whether we want to keep this for maybe next Monday, but do you believe or do you see, and before I say this, my opinion, Kane is not a captain, all right? He's an icon for the club, but he's not a captain. And I say that from a coach's position, not a fan's position. But do you think that's part of one of the pieces, as well as the centre-backs, part of the pieces that we are missing? Because even with these signings and the people that are at the club, potential stayers, I don't see a captain on that field.
I worry that that's why they're keeping Dyer around.
Nah, I don't think he'll be captain.
I
don't think he'll be captain.
That's my fear. I don't think he will. I hope he's not. But I worry that's why they're keeping him around, because he's been there for a while. He's centre back and all this.
I think
if Højbjerg goes,
yeah.
Then who else is it going to be? It's not going to be Skip. He's too young.
I don't think there is anyone unless
it will
Ange
go to Kane by default, guys. It will.
But you can't go. You can't give it to Kane if he wants to leave.
No. I agree. I think I'm telling you,
it's got to go to Son. He's the only one. He's not a leader either.
Seniority, experience, dedication to the team. It's got to.
That's not. But listen, guys, I'm telling you now.
As a captain, I see something else other than Kane, other than Son. I see something more. And
that is not what Ange will do. Ange will not make a person captain just because from default. He will look for a leader, and he might surprise us who he pulls out. But we can't listen. I know Kane's England captain. I've listened to some of the speeches that he's given in dressing rooms. It's like listening to a politician speak. It's boring. I just wouldn't listen to him. I know he's an icon for England. That's probably why he's got the captaincy. But for me, he's not a captain. He is not a captain.
Lee, the problem you got is that
he's never been that.
The old players. The thing is, you've got two situations. You've got a whole lot of new players coming in. Porro, Udoji, the two defenders, maybe Romero and another defender is going to be new. The goalkeeper is new. You got Bissouma, who's only just recently got it. Madison is new. The number 8, whoever
Bentancur, maybe he's like
Bentancur is not going to be involved till later on the season.
But that doesn't mean that.
Then you've got Son, you've got Kane, and you've got Kulusevski. So it's either going to be one of the newer guys coming in, and you give it straight away, which will probably be a bit unpopular decision with the older players or players that have been there longer. It might be a bit unpopular. So you either go there or you go to the player that's been there for like this. He's got the experience. I don't know if he's the right guy. I don't know what.
If Kane is there, Kane will get it by default. But I think Will said it correct. I think the only real option really is Bentancur.
Yeah. Bentancur or Son are the only two options you got. That's it. Can't give it to Højbjerg because he's pushing for a move out. You can't give it to Kane because he's pushing for a move out. You can't. The captain can't be a guy that wants to leave.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Whether
whoever
you're a
goes
leader
down
or
is
not,
someone
if you
new.
want out the door, you can't be the captain of the club.
we haven't had a proper captain since Ledley King. That has been an extension from the
That's
coach
mad.
to the field. Maybe
That's
Super
crazy.
Vertonghen, because Lloris, I've never he had the captain armband, but I've never saw him as the Patrick Vieira's, the Roy Keanes, the
Do you know what, Mari? The Ledley King, in my opinion, and it could be an unpopular opinion, the Ledley King, I think the captain was in his leadership in the way he conducted himself on the pitch.
Correct.
He led by example,
It's
but
a
I
role
didn't
model.
see him as that vocal. I don't remember him
we got
being
Dawson with him too. They
that
both
authoritative figure. I saw him
Yeah, but
lead by example.
Yeah, he led by example, and apparently in the dressing room, he wasn't a ranter and raver, but he would have words with people. You know,
I think we need that character. So it'll either be a new player coming in, same as Postecoglou says, you know what, this is a clean slate. I'm only judging for what I see here, and it's going to be an unpopular decision if it does go to a new player. But at the same time, from the old crew, if Kane's leaving and he's not committed and stuff like that, I think
I'd
it will
rather
go
go
to
to
Kane.
Udogie than Harry
But
Kane.
it would be yeah. It would be either Son
Pedro
or
Porro.
Henderson when he's
Jed
fit. So
Spence.
Pedro Porro. Pedro
Pedro
Porro has
Porro, look, I don't want the captain being a guy who's got one foot out the door, right? That's just asking for a disaster to happen, right? Because you know what I would say? The first time we get into a tiff in the locker room was, you don't even want to fucking be here. Why are you telling me what to do? That'd be the first words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
exactly. Listen, I agree. It's gonna be a tricky one, and one I'm looking forward to seeing how that evolves and that develops, because that's a key. It's not the most important thing but it is a key part of it all. So interesting
You
to
know,
see how that one evolves.
Iggy, this, if thinking about it, this might be one of the most important issues.
I don't think Højbjerg is the one, by the way. I don't
Yes.
think he's the one either.
I don't think he'll be here by
Because
the end
if
of
you
the
don't
season.
if you don't, Postecoglou relies on someone relaying what he wants on the pitch.
Yeah,
In that Celtic documentary, he made a really big point of that, didn't he? And how his captain rallied everyone,
yeah.
in the ethos of how Postecoglou wanted to play and lead the team.
You better
So
go
if he
get that
doesn't
guy
have
from Celtic then.
Well,
Listen,
Who
lads, I just-
knows? Who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe he will go and get him. You don't know.
well, who
Talking about
knows?
McGregor. Was he-
Yeah, wasn't there another one? What was his name? Oh, not O'Reilly. Can't
Yeah.
remember his damn name.
Well, guys,
Anyway,
I have a
another one.
special shout out because we mentioned earlier it is someone's birthday.
Big up,
yeah.
JP.
But big up JP Jean Pierre, my French mate, brother. Happy birthday! I don't know if you guys sing, but I'm willing to sing for a few seconds.
Let's do it. Come on, man. Let's do it.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear JP Jean-Pierre Papin. Happy birthday to you. Happy
I
birthday,
was on
JP.
mute. I'm so sorry. I forgot I was on mute. Happy birthday, JP.
Happy
And we
birthday,
lost our
JP.
50 subscribers there. Sophie said my ears. Sorry, guys.
I can only do the Marilyn Monroe version, so I'll keep that for private.
Yeah,
for
keep
JP.
that. Well, yeah. Phone JP directly.
I know that version. Yeah. But yeah, any last words before we check out?
Get Harry Kane off free kicks. I'm going to use Dan's.
Either sell him to Bayern or get him off free kicks. Either of the two.
Listen, we might get to see a
Well,
few
if you
good
sell him
free
to
kicks.
Bayern, he won't be taking free kicks, so I think that's a win-win, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Please consign some center backs this week.
Yeah, center backs. That's all I care about right now. Center. We need a number 6. That's another thing. We'll save that for next week's show. But we need to talk about. We need a number 6.
Yeah, let's do that next week.
Lastly, guys, that's last thing before I forget. The Tottenham All podcast, guys, head over there. They're like 17, 20 subscribers away from their I think it's their 400 mark for the 400 subscribers. Head over to the Tottenham All podcast, smash that subscribe, and help them get to their target, guys. Let's rally around and all the Spurs community. By the way, and support all the Spurs YouTubers out there, man. They're doing good stuff. So head over to them and all the other guys that are doing their thing on YouTube.
Please, guys, I'm going to do a double stream. But if you go to the old Tottenham Away 2, it is now World Football Media. You don't want to miss the new content that's coming up. I'm going to do a double stream where I put the link so you guys can like the link. Been talking to a couple of people. There's going to be some very interesting stuff. The rest of this and going into the season, some interesting content. So you want to go to World Football Media channel. The way you find it, for some strange reason, you have to type Tottenham Away 2. I don't know why, but it will pop up World Football Media. So please like and subscribe. Well, subscribe and then like, and also spread the word here. I do want to mention before we leave, Sonny's a year younger. So so is he 29? Well, is he 29? 30 to 29?
It depends on how the Premier League or whoever does the stats recorded his age. If they recorded his age off of his birth year, then no, he's the same age, right? But the way it worked in Korea is when you're born, you're 1, and then everybody ages on January 1st. So it's a confusing deal, but most likely the age that everybody's seen is probably based off of his birthday, which would be what they would say in Korean is mannae, which is what the age is now. So
your son is younger now, yeah?
It just depends on what age they were using. If you did it off his birth year and birthday, and it said he was 30, then no, he's still 30.
How funny, man.
Yeah. I'm going to post the link. I just posted the link to World Football Media. So if you guys click that link, please subscribe onto that channel. And yeah, other than that, I got nothing else. But since it's a new season, I always want to start fresh. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Stay strong, stay Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Yep.
Woo!
Come on, you Spurs.